right, so I'm just going to read this story. It's about 3.5 pages long, called "The Last Flight of Daedalus." The villagers watched as he touched down on sand. Shoulder sore, sun pink, his arms caged in wooden shelves of feathers, he was not the harpy, the monster they had feared. He wore his beard in the style of Minos. The legs jutting from his tattered tunic were the width of a healthy man's forearms. His knees buckled as he whipped the wings against the shore, unable to knock a single feather from the contraption. The watching villagers heard a wail, which may have come on the wind, may have come carried in the creature's throat, and they anchored their hose in the soil, their swords in their sheaths, unable to tell if this was a man or a beast from the tales their elders told. But he was a man, a famed inventor at that, and when they delivered him to King Catullus of Kaminkos, they were each rewarded with a heifer. King Catullus had heard of the man and was surprised and proud to learn that this cherished inventor had chosen to cross the sea on wooden wings to reach his kingdom. To mark the occasion, the king threw a banquet. The inventor ate little, drank less, and the famed citizens that populated the king's table found the guest a taciturn and morose man, unworthy of the seat of honor in which he slumped. To lift the sullenness the inventor had cast across the evening, the king proclaimed that he would grant the inventor a single request. What chests of treasure, parades of virgins, pastures of sheep would the inventor want, wondered the famed citizens. With his brow furrowed, his voice dying but not quite dead, the inventor asked only access to the shipyards and the finest shipwright in the kingdom. The shipwright had heard of the inventor's fabulous contrivances and was gratified to work alongside such a man. They labored in a workshop beside the harbor. The inventor showed a keen interest in hulls, and the shipwright taught him all he knew of the intricate art of planking and ribbing. The shipwright wanted to continue the inventor's education to elucidate the wonders of spars, riggings, and sails, because after all, the shipwright thought, had the inventor known how to build a ship, he wouldn't have had to fly across the sea. But the inventor was only concerned with hulls. He spent long hours studying the resin-glazed wood, muttering to himself as if trying to unlock the enigma that allowed men to walk and live and wage war on the water. The inventor was nearly a madman, the shipwright thought, living at some unseen edge of oblivion, where an incident as ordinary as a bird diving underwater could cause him to weep. Under the inventor's direction, the shipwright's men constructed the oblong hulls of 2 vessels. But when the wright began discussing decking, the inventor waved him away. "This isn't a boat," the inventor at last admitted. Into the empty oar slats, the inventor slid the most peculiar originations. Long wooden stabs that split into 2 curved pincers, large enough to grip a barrel. They were built of the same treated timber as the oars, but resembled the claws of an immense wooden crustacean. Inside each claw were organs of ropes, wooden gears and pulleys configured in such a way that the strength of a single man could move and operate the claw underwater. Extraordinary, the shipwright said, but the inventor wasn't finished. He beckoned the shipwright to place his eye against the end of the wooden staff. The shipwright expected darkness, wood grain, but a complex arrangement of glass sheets allowed him to see through the shaft to whatever lay on the other side of the pincers. Extraordinary, the shipwright repeated, wishing he could summon a larger, more forceful word. Within a fortnight, the inventor had divulged his plan to the shipwright. The 2 hulls would be joined together as a seed pod, a Trojan fish, into which the inventor would be sealed. The pod would be towed by ship to the sea and weighed down by grain sacks lowered towards the seafloor. Through a signaling system of slender ropes, the inventor would communicate with the ship, giving instructions guiding his descent. But why, the shipwright asked, for what purpose? The inventor wouldn't say. On the morning of disembarkation, half the kingdom showed up to watch the inventor slip inside the seed pod, the wooden anchor, the clawed creature whose name and purpose mutated ceaselessly in the realm of their speculation. The villagers and townfolk remarked that for all of his brilliance, the inventor was a sad, quiet man, living on the wrong side of reason, a man to be admired and pitied. When the sail of the shipwright's ship shrank to one among the multitude of white swells on the horizon, the villagers and townsfolk were relieved to see him leave. They worried that their children would look up to the celebrated but unfortunate inventor and seek to live like him beyond the quiet confines of contentment. In the submersible, towed behind the Wright's vessel, the inventor was at long last alone. Through the rope rigging, he signaled to the Wright to lower him. Peering through the ends of the wooden claws, the wooden rinks, the pincers, the talons, whatever they were, the inventor could create far better than he could name. He watched shadow rise through the depths, the crystal blue darkening as if he fell into a squid's inky cloud. For 2 days he raked the seafloor with the wooden claws. He came upon rocks, sunken ships, the soggy skeletons of immense fish, but these dead things were not the dead thing that he sought. As he trawled the seafloor, he continued to fall, and he signaled to be lowered further still. The whole weight of the surging, swelling sea pressed against the resin-sealed capsule, but the inventor did not fear the submersible's failure, but rather his own, which was the fear of his son in the darkening water, the innumerable craggy creatures upon him, the scalloped monsters stripping his son's flesh, the urchins making a home within his son's ribcage, the starfish spawning in his mouth, the eels darting through once winged cages of his arms, the fish eggs glistening on his pelvic bone, all of these nightmares colonizing the wounded thing that had been his boy. By evening of the second day, he came upon a narrow gash in the ocean floor. He should wait for tomorrow, he knew, when the muted hint of daylight might brighten the trench. But he couldn't wait, not when urchins and anemones were building lives for themselves inside his son's body. He signaled and was lowered. The sharp trench walls battered the sides of the capsule, but just a little more, a little farther. The sea was of eyes crushing the wooden vessel. The hulls moaned and wailed, but just a little more, a little farther. His son was there, in the darkness. He couldn't see, but he knew it. He must go deeper, must rescue him, just a little more, a little farther. And when the wooden hulls cracked, when the black swells entered, the inventor took that first breath of water with the relief of a man surfacing, and then he was gone, the designs of his wondrous mind forever lost. As he drifted, the splintered hulls fell upon the empty trench floor, where they would become a city of shelter for many generations of crabs.